All right, today we are going to talk about how welding technique can affect the integrity of your weld, the penetration, the looks of your weld, things of that nature. So I'm going to do a cut, polish, and etch on all these these test samples that I have. They're all out of 1/4-inch bar stock, cleaned, shiny metal, so it doesn't affect the weld. And what I'm polishing with is 120 grit sandpaper, and then a blue 3M pad to take the sandpaper scratches out of it. And I'm going to etch it with Loctite naval jelly rust remover. So if you heat the part up before you apply the Loctite, it will immediately reveal the weld nugget. But it also darkens the base metal, so it makes it a little harder to see the weld nugget, but you get immediate results. When you see the actual test pieces etched, this is just like a mock-up sample, so I could do the beginning of this video. You'll notice the base metal isn't discolored at all, and the weld nugget is perfectly defined etched. That's because I didn't heat them up. I just put the etching solution on and let them set for about 20 minutes. Everything I read, they say 10 minutes will do, but I found 20 minutes makes them perfect. But you can see here, you can see the weld nugget, but the metal around it's dark too. So this first technique is just a straight up drag technique with the gun leaning forward the direction of travel. I should have brought the camera around to the other side to show you the actual puddle and how you stay on the leading edge, but I'm not that intelligent. I have very little brain capacity, so this is what you get from me. But this is a very good technique. Dragging keeps the puddle on the leading edge, keeps your wire on the leading edge of the puddle, which gives you good penetration in the root, and that's the main thing. You want to fill in that root. You can see here the root is filled in. This little dog leg in that weld, it's not a straight line, so it did penetrate, but something went on there. Maybe I didn't have the gun angled quite enough, but this is a good weld. This is a completely passable weld, good penetration in the toe. The push technique, I really like this technique. And when I say push, you actually have the gun at about a 90-degree angle to the plate, and you can see that the root of the joint, you're right on the leading edge of the puddle. It's filling in the root very nicely. You got a good hot root going on there. It also fills the toes in nicely. Very good technique to use. I really like this one. I use it quite often. And you can see makes a really nice looking weld nugget too. Good penetration in the toes, good penetration in the root of the joint, no flaws. That's a very passable weld. I got no clue what I'm doing now. I don't know why I'm still poking around this thing. We'll get to the next one here in a minute, I assure you. Just bear with me. I don't know what I'm explaining here either. There's really nothing else to explain. I did it all. The Cursive E technique. Love this one. It's an awesome technique. It makes a killer looking weld too. Gives you that almost stack of dimes looks. Kinda, sorta, maybe. But you see, as you make the rotations around, look how it drives the leading edge of that puddle right into the root. Really gets it in there good. And when you come back around, it fills in and drives it into the toes of the weld also. This isn't my go-to technique because it takes time. You know what I mean? Any type of movement oscillation like this makes the weld, makes it take longer. But you can see it makes a really nice weld. This straight edge I'm showing you, it's not perfectly straight, so it did burn in on the left-hand side here. That's because I didn't hang out long enough when I was coming up the plate. That would be the top of the weld. I just didn't hang out there long enough. You know, gravity takes over. But that's a good weld. If I would have hung out a little longer up there, we'd have been fine. But you can see the root and the bottom was perfect. This is a horrible technique to use unless you're filling a gap. This is, I call it the U technique, because you're you're making a U. I mean, you can see the movement right there. And if you watch, look at the root of the joint. You can almost see a tunnel forming. That's because you're not pushing anything into the root. You're pushing it all into the toes. And when you see the etched result, you'll notice a lot of penetration in the toes and nothing in the root at all. It's just a horrible technique to use unless you're filling a gap. Right there, see that? There is no penetration whatsoever in the root of that weld. That will fail structurally, it will fail X-ray. I mean, I could probably break that with a hammer just because of that. You can see heavy penetration in the toes, nothing in the root, which is pretty much the most important part of the weld, is the root. That's where the crack begins, at a failure in the root. See that? See what I'm doing there? Yep. All right, this technique, the two-sided triangle. It's an awesome technique. The weld doesn't look really good. I don't like doing it because I have trouble making the motion. I don't know why I have trouble, but I do. But as you can see, when you come up to the point, it just pounds that weld right into the root. It keeps you on the leading edge of the puddle, which is what you want. And when you back up the sides, it fills in the toes nicely and it gets good penetration, as you'll see here coming up on the etch. And right here is where I get all squirrely because like I said, I just can't do the motion. But look at that nugget. It's a really nice nugget. Good penetration everywhere. Toes, root, all the way around. Awesome weld. The back step technique, this is what I call that. I like this technique. It makes a really nice looking weld. When you push forward, you're pushing the puddle into the root, and when you pull back, you're filling in the toes and pushing in the toes. So you get good penetration the whole way around. Really nice technique. This is one of my go-to techniques. Really like this one. I use it quite often. Not just because it makes a good weld, it makes a nice looking weld too. And look at that weld nugget. It's pretty much uniform the whole way around. Good penetration everywhere. I don't know why I'm following that line there. That's where the two plates meet each other. That's not like a crack. And this is my favorite technique. I use this all the time. I call it the reversed U, because when you arc around, the closed portion of the U is in the direction of your travel versus the other one where the open portion of the U is in the direction of the travel. That's the one that's bad. And when you see this weld nugget, you'll know what I'm talking about. Look at that. It is perfect. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Good penetration the whole way around, a completely uniform weld nugget. Can't ask for much more than that. Yep. All right. As usual, guys, I appreciate you watching my videos. Thanks for your support. Remember, like, share, comment, subscribe, tell a friend, email, do something. See you guys later. Bye.